Welcome to Hoovies Garage, the dumbest automotive channel in all of YouTube. Well, not only is it really dumb, but it's also a horrible influence on the automotive community, because last week I unveiled my latest purchase, this $6,000 Porsche 911. I bought it for only $6,000 at a dealer wholesale auction, sight unseen. I couldn't test drive it. I couldn't go inside these auctions if I wanted to because they're all closed. It's all online only. I rolled the dice and I actually got lucky. It is a running and driving 2000 Porsche 911 with 175,000 miles on it for only $6,000. And it does look a little rough around the edges, the black wheels, there's a lot of scratches and dings and things, but overall, pretty good. And me being so excited about this purchase last week probably inspired you to go shopping yourselves, to go make a similar purchase like this. And I'm here to say, don't. Hopefully you watch this video too, because today I am taking this Porsche to my local Porsche dealer for a pre-purchase inspection, or actually a post-pre-purchase inspection. What I should have done is had this thing inspected before I bought it, but I didn't because I'm a complete moron. Now, normally I take my cars to my faithful mechanic, the Car Wizard, for his opinion, but since a lot of you don't have a Car Wizard, I decided this time I should take it to my local Porsche dealer. Their labor rate is $190 an hour, so whatever they find, it's gonna be expensive. So that is what I'm doing, $190 for a Porsche mechanic to look over this car top to bottom, and we'll see what they say. Wish me luck. What's so good? Oh yeah, so as I said earlier, bought this thing for only $6,000, 175,000 miles on it, and it drives really well. I was pleasantly surprised. I expected some big major thing to be wrong with it, but there isn't. But it doesn't take something big to have a repair bill add up fast. Most of these old imports have a lot of little things, and the parts are very expensive, and it's very hard to work on them, so the prices, they just add up quickly. And this one does have plenty of little problems. I'm sure it has tons of deferred maintenance that needs to be done. The airbag light is on, the front suspension feels a little worn, probably needs some brakes, probably needs some front tires, so definitely needs some front tires. I imagine there are a few minor leaks, and I can kind of tell that the engine needs motor mounts. When I sit idle the light, it just, you can kind of feel it vibrating through the whole car. So they have plenty of things to find, and they'll probably find even more. We'll see. All right, I'm gonna say it. I'm mad. I'm probably the first person in history to ever be mad about a dealer not finding enough wrong with their car, but that's exactly what they did. And I've bit my lip on my local dealer. It's a luxury group that owns a lot of luxury brands here in Wichita for a long time, because they invite me to these fancy parties and they are a lot of fun, but I think it's time to rant. But let me give you a little background first, and this is all my opinions and my guesses and off the best of my memory, which may not be totally accurate, but it'll paint a pretty good picture for you. So years ago, I was a car dealer, and I was 2 doors down from the actual luxury dealership here in town. They had all in one building, Mercedes, Acura, Porsche, Jaguar, and then right next door, but the same owners, they had Lexus. And they hired on a guy that had a giant vision of building a giant automotive campus, kind of like what you would find in Scottsdale, Arizona, or Laguna Beach, California, here in Wichita, Kansas. And he talked the owners into doing this. And it was a massive undertaking, and they built a dedicated multi-million-dollar building for every single brand. Mercedes got its own building, and they acquired BMW and built its own building. Acura, Audi, they acquired Land Rover, and now it is a giant campus. The problem is, Wichita can't support a dealership like that. It is giant, tens of millions of dollars into this thing. There's just no way. There's not enough people in Wichita, not enough people with money in Wichita to support a business like that. So they struggled. And this guy that they brought in to run this new giant campus got stressed, and he started changing the pay structure to where it scared off a lot of the good employees that had been there for a very long time. And the stress was definitely showing, because when one group of mechanics left and started their own independent shop years ago, when they were building the buildings, they put the brick of each employee that had been there when the place was built. And this manager, this CEO, was so angry that he dug up these people's bricks and threw them in the dumpster. That's how petty and how stressed out he was. But these cost cuts didn't affect the sales initially, so it probably did some good. Made it good enough to where the original owners that had owned this thing for 40, 50 years were able to sell it to an outfit out of Minnesota. And their background was Nissan dealerships. And they decided to take their Nissan dealership philosophy and apply it to this luxury campus, which included no haggle pricing, which it just doesn't work. Most of the cars in their inventory are just super overpriced, and friends and family members will go there and they'll test drive the car. They'll get this price. They'll go and do 5 minutes of research and buy one in Oklahoma City, Kansas City, Dallas for $10,000 cheaper. Not only that, but they've screwed over a friend of mine and a family member that I know firsthand. One ordered a new Range Rover, custom ordered. He wanted everything black. It showed up the wrong color. It was a black metallic that was kind of a rainbow sparkly one. He hated it and he didn't want it, but they told him to take delivery of the Range Rover anyway. This is when you couldn't get them. You had to order them and they were almost a year out. And they said, take it, we'll treat it as a lease. We'll give you this value when you trade it in 10, 11 months from now when the next one shows up. And when the next one showed up about a year later, they said the market had changed and they could no longer honor that value that they initially told him, which is why he took delivery of that car in the first place. So it was $10,000, I think, less than what they said. He had to eat it. He took the car and then he said he'd never buy a car from them again. Another friend of mine, he got a GT2 RS allocation and he was buying it for sticker, and they negotiated, made that deal before the new owners took possession of the dealership, and they realized they could mark this thing up $10, $20, $30, $50,000 and still sell it. So they yanked it away from this loyal Porsche buyer. He's bought every single rare Porsche ever. He's kept some of them. He's sold a lot of them. He's lost money on some. He's made money on some. He got a Carrera GT. Every single GT Porsche 911 that you could get, he just paid sticker for them, and they yanked it away from him. Now that has nothing to do with what happened here today, where I don't think I got a very good inspection, but all of this has led to a brain drain at the dealership. Employees have left this dealership in droves. Not everybody. There's a few good people left over there, but they're stuck in a bad situation, and they're stretched so few and far between that the sales and service, it's just slipping. And I know these guys are going through a hard time right now, and I hate to kick them while they're down. I know the economy's in the toilet. People aren't selling cars, but if I'm going to pay $193 for an inspection, they better do a good inspection, and they clearly didn't. So let's get into it. I'm sorry about this rant, and I'm sorry I'm probably never going to get invited to these parties, but I kind of feel like these people need to know, because they don't live here. They don't know that among the automotive community, they've become such a joke. We joke about them, the cars and coffee, and how laughable their prices are, and how bad their service has become in so many instances. And just let me show you. Now, the prices here are pretty standard prices. They're not overpriced, and the stuff that they found is not out of line with a Porsche that has deferred maintenance. But you'll see. They'd recommended I change the pollen air filter, the engine air filter, brake fluid service, serpentine belt, engine oil service, spark plugs, hood struts, front tires, alignment, clean out the radiators, and that's all normal maintenance, stuff that you would expect on a deferred maintenance Porsche 911. That's pretty much automatic. If you have no history of it, you should do it. So for him to put this all down, it took him, all of 5 minutes. Now, he said the airbag light was on, but he did not diagnose it. For me to diagnose it would cost another $1.5 at $190 an hour. That's $250, $60 for him to plug in his computer and say your airbag light is on because of this. Now, maybe they'll do a little investigation to see why, but usually the code is pretty telling. It tells you, hey, this is the fault and this is what needs to be replaced. There's not much investigating. 10 minutes at the most. And they want 1.5 hours for that, $200 and something. He then talks about cosmetic things like the rear bumper and the inner parts broke as it hit a curb. My headlamps are melted. They look that way new, but I get what he means. The headlamps are melted on the inside. A few bulbs are out. Finally, he got to a few issues. My rack and pinion slide OPF leak and low on fluid, so my steering rack needs a couple of seals, 3.5 hours on that. My window regulator is broken. He did catch that, this rear window regulator, and it is 4 hours to change this window regulator. It must be really difficult because it's in with the top. You have to put the top in the service position, take a bunch of things apart, so that is quite expensive. So $700 in labor, and parts wise, that one window regulator is $1,000 at the Porsche dealer. $1,000 for that window regulator. So a few minor issues is what he found, and a lot of deferred maintenance, and he gave an estimate of $6,500 to $7,000 to sort out this Porsche before taxes for deferred maintenance and a few little items. Now, that's a lot of money. That's the big shock that I was going for. But in my opinion, missed out on a lot. It's pretty obvious that this front end, this front suspension, is pretty tired. There's a lot of creaks and noises, and it just feels kind of loose. And I think if you look really closely at the front suspension, you would find that there's a lot of worn components. Same with the motor mounts in the back. It's so obvious when you sit here and idle. I don't know, I'll start it up for you right now. See if the camera shakes at all. Can you tell? Are you shaking a little bit? I can see the camera shaking. That's because the motor mounts, they feel really worn. Now, it may be spark plugs, the motor mounts may be fine, but I really think that this tech, he just rushed through it and didn't do a very thorough job. When you're paying top dollar for service, you should get top dollar service. And the way they presented these repairs, they didn't even find all the parts for me. They just rushed through and they didn't organize it at all and break it down. Like when I had my Cadillac at the Cadillac dealer last year, they did such a good job breaking down all the issues, what needed to be done, what should be done, and what could be done, what would be nice. They even showed me video of underneath the car showing me the leaks. I didn't get any of that. None of this is organized at all. There's tons of typos in here. I have to add up how much this is all going to cost myself. 1.2 times 190, 1.5 times 190. Same with the parts, adding up all the parts. And then they give me a written estimate and paper estimate, $6,500 to $7,000 before taxes. It's just not good. Now, I wanted to do the Porsche dealer partially because most of you don't have access to the Car Wizard, a gifted mechanic like this that cuts you a break on its labor rate and parts, but also because the Porsche dealer, they're doing contact-free service to where I don't have to get within 6 feet of people, but this is so bad. This is so bad. I have to go to the Car Wizard, and we have to look over this car properly to see if this is as bad as I think it is. And if it isn't, I'm sorry, but surely there's more. Surely there's more. So off to the Car Wizard we go. Every time I see the Wizard, he's on top of one of my Lamborghini parts.
Hey, I got this thing back together. Well, transferred over anyway.
I see. So all of this robotic Borg assimilated stuff went from the old transmission, which is smoked, to the new one, huh?
Yeah, resistance is futile.
Nice.
It even looks like something a Borg would wear.
It does. So that's ready to go back in, more or less?
Yeah, put that back in and then it'll be time to drop the motor in.
Okay, well, I was going to leave you alone for a while to do this, but I had an inspection done on my Porsche 911 that I bought for $6,000, and I'm not real impressed with the inspection.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, come take a look at this thing.
Okay.
Still, it's pretty amazing, a running and driving 911 convertible, and the top works for $6,000.
$6,000?
$6,000, yes. And it's not in that bad a shape. It, you know, a little scruffy, but it'll clean up.
That's nice for $6 grand.
Yeah. But the inspection that I got at the Porsche dealer, it was contact-free and everything was, I mean, fine in that sense. The service, it's a beautiful facility, but I kind of think they halfway did the inspection. I don't think they went as deep as we normally go, or they should go when you take a car in and pay $190 for a pre-purchase inspection. So they charged me $190, but then that didn't include pulling codes. They wanted 1.5 hours just to see what the airbag light is.
1.5 hours?
At $190 an hour.
And my prices are high.
people have said that you're overpriced.
Yeah, I've had a lot of customers, actually, probably over 10 or more, that have come from that place. That they're just fed up. They feel like they got taken advantage of. They decided to try me out, and I now have long-term permanent customers out of the deal.
Right, and a few misdiagnoses in there as well,
yeah.
Right?
And a stripped-out oil drain plug.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to bash them too much. So let's see. Maybe their inspection was fine, and we won't find anything extra. But I have a feeling. I mean, there's no way. But I guess we'll see, huh?
Yeah, we will see.
Hey, Wizard, listen to this one.
Oh. It's a bunch of cables being crunched.
Yeah, not a very pleasant noise.
That's bad.
It's obviously a window regulator.
Yeah.
Okay, Wizard, I dropped a little hint on you with the window regulator, because that's pretty obvious. And also, they recommended all the services for something that's deferred, you know, fluids, spark plugs, that kind of stuff. So other than that, I'm not going to give you any more hints on what else they found. I just want you to go on your own and just go through this car and see what you think.
Okay.
All right?
First thing I see is mismatched tires.
Yes. Yes. Quite bad.
Wayward links. Pads are pretty decent, but the rotors are getting pretty thin.
I see.
Deep lip on them. Uh-oh.
Hmm?
Yeah, this one seems like it's got a little bit of a clunk to it.
Yeah. So the strut's getting worn out?
That one's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But really, you would replace them both. That one doesn't seem so bad.
So he's found multiple suspension issues. And you're peeking around in there.
Looking at the rack.
Yeah?
Yeah, the boots are leaking.
On the steering rack?
Yeah, let me see if I can... Oh, it locked.
Pretty wet in there?
Yeah.
Alright.
Might need a rack at some point. That could probably, it's such a small leak, it could probably be fixed with some stop leak for now. You're not going to damage anything because it's already needs to be rebuilt or replaced. So
Okay.
these rotors are pretty grooved too.
Mm.
This sway bar link. Looking for oil leaks on the valve covers. These are typically would be leaking. You would smell it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Look at those motor mounts. They're shot. Bad motor mounts.
Yeah, I noticed that. When you idle, it definitely shakes the car.
Okay, now I can lower it down and look in the little engine bay there. Looks like about a 2002 Beetle.
It does not look like a 2002 Beetle. So
yeah, it does.
there's something you have in common. Both techs have insulted this car. You said it looked like a Beetle, and the other tech said that it has melted headlights.
Melted headlights.
He was serious, though. I mean, the 911, it does look like it has melted headlights, but and they are a little melted in there. But I think,
The glass is cracked.
yeah, I don't think he meant it as a joke. He meant that the insides were kind of melted.
Uh-oh. The little hood strut is not holding the hood.
All right.
There's a inspection flaw. It doesn't even register on the stick.
It's low.
Very low on power steering.
So
That's probably because the boots are leaking. Over time, it's stripped it out.
I see. Yeah, there's a few burnt out bulbs, mostly in the back.
Yeah, and the airbag light is on.
Yes, that too.
We'll have to connect the scan tool to it and see what's going on there.
Okay. All right, you got your wireless thing hooked up.
Yeah, I've checked all the different modules and I can communicate with the car just fine. It says there's a signal from the airbag, but if I try to go to the airbag control unit, it'll try to connect and it's like the module's dead.
Huh.
I'll need to dig a little deeper and see what's going on there.
So it could be an issue with the module or the power,
Yeah.
or it could be that your thing's not able to talk to it.
I've used the system to talk to a 996 before, so I know that the airbag portion works.
Okay. So we won't need the dealer for it.
No.
I might have burned a bridge there. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you can start adding everything up and we'll meet in the office, huh?
Okay.
All right, here is the Porsche dealer, what they said on my 911 so we can compare notes.
Okay.
It's not very well organized. They didn't break it down by job. I kind of have to do math, like in the labor and the parts, and there's a lot of typos in here. But anyway, let's go ahead. You start, and then I'll try and match up from here.
I'll start from the front. On the bottom, the front sway bar links.
Yes.
$140 to get them both replaced.
They didn't even notice the front sway bar links were bad.
The front struts, so we noticed they were clunking. They're shot, basically. $550 to do both.
Wow. Well, that's not too bad, but it's not even on here. They missed it.
Wow.
Yeah, sway bar links and struts, which were obviously bad. Yes.
Yeah, they definitely were.
Mm-hmm.
Front brakes would be $325.
Okay, that's another thing that was not on here. But you know, it's kind of optional. I guess since I like to go and do track stuff, those thin rotors wouldn't be good. But
No. Rear sway bar links, $140.
not on there.
Not on there.
So far, we have nothing. Yeah.
The steering rack, I thought we could put stop leak, and when we do the flush, add some stop leak to it. It's not like it's a $30,000 Porsche, it's a $6,000 Porsche.
Mm-hmm.
Some areas we can save a little money. I could, for $50, I can add that.
Okay.
That'll probably take care of the leaks for a while.
So they noticed that. They did notice the pinion leak, and they put 3.5, I guess because you can reseal it.
Yeah.
Like you can replace the seals. So they said 3.5 hours of labor at $190, and then some seals, which I can find the seals. They're not very expensive.
And then the window regulator. That's kind of a big job.
Yes.
$300 to get it rebuilt.
Really?
And add that to the labor at $550.
$550 total.
To get the rear window fixed.
So they want 4 hours at so that's $700 in labor, and then $1,000 for the part from Porsche. So rebuild is $300, and then you want another
$250 for labor. at your rate.
So you're saving me $1,200 or $1,300 for a window regulator. Crazy.
I can replace both motor mounts for $350.
$350. See, the motor mounts, that's another thing they completely missed. They didn't even, how could you not notice the way that thing ran with the peeling metal on metal and how disintegrated it is?
You can see the rubber cracked and pooching out.
Right.
Front hatch struts, $100 for repair, installed. The rear one will be $60, the hood.
That's about the same here.
Getting all the services caught up with brake fluid, coolant, trans fluid, oil change, air filter, the whole 9 yards. $750.
$750 for all of it.
Yeah.
And you're using like OEM spark plugs?
Well, the tune-up would be separate. That's $250.
Okay, so $1,000 for all the deferred maintenance. And you're using OEM like Bosch or whatever, all Mobile One, all OEM supplier stuff.
Yep.
Because they want something like $4,000.
$4,000?
For all the fluids, deferred maintenance, and all that stuff, the filters. Because they want $83 for a cabin air filter. You don't have the cabin air filter on there, do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah, so they want $83 for that. Air cleaner, $56. And then they want 1.2 hours to change the air filter.
Well, that's why it's $4,000
Right.
an hour for 10 minutes of work.
Yes, exactly. One other thing I noticed you missing, they had to clean up the exterior radiators. I think hose them out. They wanted to charge half an hour for that. So
I don't think it's going to cause a breakdown.
yeah, you missed that. You missed the pollen air filters. You did note that the bulbs were out. Yes. And tires. You did notice the tires. Yeah, I can find my own tires. And their estimate was $6,500 to $7,000 before taxes, and that was before they even dug into the airbag light, which you're kind of in the same way. You need to do some more digging.
Yeah, like you saw, we hooked the scan tool to it. It's not communicating. It's not. I don't know what's going on with that. I need to find out why.
Okay, so but before airbag light, $6,500 to $7,000 is what they wanted. So what do you want?
$3,650.
$3,650.
That's adding a whole bunch of things they missed.
Right. Yeah. Brakes. That's expensive. Motor mounts, front shocks, and sway bar links. I'm getting all of that, and it's still almost half of what their estimate is. A Porsche dealer, I mean, they're just going to charge more. This isn't like this individual Porsche dealer here in Wichita is particularly like this is them being really bad. This is all across the country, and I feel like a lot of dealers are getting so far out of reality that they're just running away a bunch of good customers. But the ones that would pay this, I guess, would more than make up for it.
I guess so.
I'm not mad about their estimate being high. I'm just mad that they didn't do a thorough job and do a proper inspection and just spend the amount of time that $190 that I spent deserves. I mean, just obvious stuff that they missed.
They could have added more to the list. It would have been more money for them.
Exactly. This estimate could have easily been double. And that's why I'm angry, I guess. I don't know. But I'm going to fix a lot of things in this 911 and enjoy it.
Yeah, for the price you paid for it.
I'm still going to have under $10,000 for a sorted 911 that's a little scruffy looking, but still, that's awesome. So maybe you should buy a cheap Porsche 911, although you need a wizard.
Yeah, you need a wizard if you're going to do that.
A good mechanic, yeah. Thank you for watching.